All right. This
Do
is
that clap.
Parable. I
Yeah.
am here with my good friend, Alex Maximov. He works here in Vancouver for a great company.
Yeah.
But what he's passionate about is apologetics
Yes, sir.
and the study of theology, a few other things I'm
Yeah.
sure you're passionate about. You have a
Yeah.
son,
I love my
Zeke.
wife. Yeah.
You love your wife. That's always good to love your wife.
Yeah.
I think
Family.
that should be important.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit maybe above apologetics,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but it would never come down to that.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm glad to be on, man. I love what you guys are doing. Like this platform of conversation in a time where like conversation is so hard to be had is so vital, I think. So I'm honored to be here.
legit, I love it. So I mean, like one reason why I really like talking with you is you like to be methodical about it. You like to dig into it. I think the premise of today, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about apologetics. And I think the first step when it comes to apologetics is, first off, like, what is it? And then second is, let's look at Jesus and let's see how apologetics applies to his walk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, without getting too technical in the definition, apologetics, the way I see it is it's a tool to go on our tool belt for evangelism and really for just Christian discipleship as we share God and share what we believe with those who disagree or almost disagree. And so like, yeah, to answer your question, that's basically what I see apologetics being. It's like we've kind of narrowed the definition down so that we know what we're talking about when we're getting technical, but really it's just a part of evangelism. And honestly, I think every Christian is called to it biblically. Yeah. And yeah, Jesus being, the primary.
Yeah, I think it's important to look at Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Because we can look at like Paul, we can look at Peter, we can look at
Yeah.
Ravi Zacharias,
Yeah.
the late Ravi Zacharias,
Yeah.
if we want to be
Great examples.
specific, great examples.
Yeah.
But what's most important, I think, is analyzing the life of Jesus and saying, what did he do right? Because at the end of the day, he's our epitome. He's the person that we're looking at. He's the main goal. It's to live like Jesus. So you can't talk about apologetics and exclude Jesus from it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can't. So the thing about Jesus is everything he did was right. And he basically exemplified what it means to be a living example of love. Like if we're going to do, and this is skipping ahead a little bit, but if we do apologetics, like it has to center in love. Like if you do it any other way, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just go straight into like Jesus. One thing that captivates me about Jesus is he asks questions. And so one of the bigger picture items that I wanted to talk about was, I'll just direct this towards myself. When I'm talking to someone who's a believer, non-believer, am I asking questions?
Oh,
Do I want to know what they think? Because typically in business and life, you'll never know what the problem is or like the disagreement or the reason for a lack of belief until you ask a question and find out. That's the only way to know.
yeah.
Otherwise, we're in an assumptive process of always trying to guess. And then we come across as like pretentious, overbearing, rude,
Yeah.
all the things that people don't like.
Yeah, dude, I so agree. Like, this is why I love talking to you too, because like I do get kind of methodical sometimes, and you word things in a way that's like it helps me connect things. It's awesome. But like you're absolutely right. Like if we don't ask questions to understand and to get to know the person that we're actually evangelizing to or doing apologetics, gosh. Yeah, you will come across arrogant or you will come across as someone who doesn't care. And maybe you don't if you're not asking questions. Maybe you actually don't care.
Sure.
Maybe you care about like, scoring the check mark, your points for, I shared the gospel with this many people. But like,
Yeah.
The way that Jesus asked questions is profound. He asked the questions of people in order to open them up within what they were assuming, like the stuff that they were bringing. Like if they were to ask him a question, oftentimes he would refer back to them with another question. And I don't think it was to be I don't think it was like to be like a hard debate topic or something like that. It was just literally like, why are you asking me this? What do you mean by that?
I think almost the question itself can be spiritual, but it's also an art. right? I think a great picture of a question that has power is when Jesus was at the well and the woman who had multiple wives came and he was like, I think he said, "Are you married?" Right?
Yeah, and it's like, and he knew, right? Because she's like, he's like, bring your husband. And
bring your
she's
husband,
like, and
right.
she's like, I don't have a husband. And Jesus is like, you're right. In fact, the guy you're living with right now isn't your husband.
It's your like
He's
fifth
like,
or sixth, right?
Yeah, he's like, you've had like 7, like, but like, and the thing is like,
7 is not a good number in this situation.
Well, the reason he did all of that was literally to be like, look, like, come and drink. Like, he's like, if you're like, there's a time coming where like, you know, like worshipers will worship God in spirit and in truth, not on this mountain or that mountain. Like, and like, you're looking at like the living well, come and drink. Like, he's like, basically saying, go bring your husband, like bring your baggage, like bring who you are because I see it.
Yeah. And I don't think he was, I mean, it definitely, the goal of it was not to like ostracize the person.
Yeah, no, not
make
at
them
all.
Feel uncomfortable.
He shouldn't have even been talking to her by Jewish standards.
Yeah. Well, immediately following, he said, come drink like a living water that will last you forever. You'll never thirst again.
Yeah.
So, you know, he questioned without her even knowing like her position in life, what she believed. And he offered an alternative solution to her current problem because the woman felt ostracized because
that's good.
The reason she came out during the day was because everybody else would go at night. So she has to go during the time where nobody goes because she was ostracized from community.
That's who she saw herself as. And like, that's good. That's good.
And most people, I mean, myself included, before I was saved and even when I was saved, feeling excluded from society is a very normal thing. It's almost normalized in culture, like that. Like it's normal to sometimes feel alone, which is why we have antidepressants, medication for that. We have groups for that. So many tools to just help with like separation from people.
Yeah.
And so he provided an alternative with that, right? Like you don't have to be alone anymore. You can drink my water and you can be with me, or you know. So when it comes to apologetics, when it comes to evangelism, I think it's important to provide he didn't push it, he presented an option. And so I think it's important to present options. Rather than just lay it down. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately in presenting options, what we are like, we can't shy away from, like, there's grace and truth and we got to have both, right? So like when we're presenting options, we are technically presenting the option of saying, we're saying, look, we like, if I'm talking to someone, like you have a way that you view the world. I don't care what it is. Like it could be atheist, it could be Buddhist, it could be Taoist. I don't care. You have a way that you view the world. I mean, I care, but you know what I mean?
Well, you have to care because you won't know actually how to have the conversation with them.
I meant like, I don't care. Like,
well, I think that's one of the issues is we don't care. And so we're not actually taking into account the fact that they're Buddhist or maybe they're monotheistic or.
Oh, I didn't mean like, I don't care what you are. I'm saying like for the application.
I think it draws in a point of like, our attitudes towards people we actually don't care if like they believe in multiple gods or one God or what type of God, or if they don't believe in anything. And that should ultimately direct our approach towards how we communicate to them.
I agree. There's a whole version of apologetics that is presuppositional, which I respect a lot. Like I know people who are very educated, very smart, they love the Lord. But their approach is presuppositional, meaning that they actually don't need to know what you believe. They believe that if I present scripture, the word of God will eventually convict. I'm not in that camp, even though I respect it. I'm just not in that camp. I become a presuppositionalist when you and I have already agreed that the Bible is the word of God. But what I'm getting at with like, you know, when you're talking to people and you're presenting an option, ultimately what you're saying, if you're a Christian and you're doing apologetics, ultimately what you're saying is your worldview, and you're not going to say it this way, but your worldview and my worldview cannot both exist and both be true. Either you're wrong or I'm wrong, or both of us are wrong. But both of us cannot be right if there's a contradiction logically, right? So I'm presenting the option that I think is the best description of reality as we know it. So, or as we don't know it. Like I'm saying that my option is more accurate, a representation of reality than the other option. That's basically what apologetics is. And so like, and Jesus was like this too. He was very exclusive. Like he's like, he's saying that he's the only way to God. That means something. That means that like now whatever way you thought there was, Jesus is saying it's wrong. And so we have to deal with that. Like we have to approach it head on and be like, either Jesus is wrong or he's right. He can't be both.
I think it's also important to address like, are we creating value for people, right? Like that's a number one question for myself in any relationship is, do I create value for Alex? Does he need to create value for me? No. But as a believer, am I creating ultimately like, a positive value, not a negative one, but something that adds to your life, right? Yeah. That should be the motivation, the goal for every single person, saved, unsaved. The goal is to ultimately win people over with ourselves, right? In the same way that Jesus won people over, we want to win people over too with our life, right? Because to this day, Jesus's life, which is depicted through multiple areas in the Bible, is his life. It's that story that convicts us, that motivates us, that directs us. And so how are we creating value for people? I know for you, when you're practicing apologetics or even just having a relationship, or I think they're intertwined, right? Like it's just, you've intertwined it into your life. And I think that's a place we want to take it. But how are you creating value for people every day?
Yeah, I love this question. So just the word apologetic is basically, apologetics is to give a defense for what we believe. So like when I'm doing apologetics, your life, oftentimes someone said your life is the only Bible that some people will ever read. So your life is actually like the first apologetic before you ever open your mouth. But we are commanded to give an actual defense when people ask us for the hope that's within us, with gentleness and respect, of course. And so
seasoned with grace, right?
Yeah. And another part, it says, be ready to make the most of every opportunity. So basically, your life itself is an apologetic. Like Jesus's life today, I can use as an apologetic because I can say, like, oftentimes, like one example, just a quick example. A lot of times people will say like, the reason I'm not a Christian is because like, look at what the church has done. And sometimes they're talking about the Catholic Church and the Crusades, or they're talking about their local church and the scandal that their pastor was caught in. Whatever it is, oftentimes people don't want to be Christian because they claim that Christians are hypocrites. But that is when you can address their attention to the life of Jesus and say, I agree with you. Like a lot of people are hypocrites. I'm sure there were times where I was too, and there might have been times where you were too. But let's look at the life of Jesus. Like this is like Jesus's life as an apologetic. Like, what do you find in him that is wrong? Right? Like you can readdress, like Christianity is not how people represent it with their lives. Although they're supposed to, but when people fail, then Christianity is what Jesus represented first and foremost. And so if someone's going to have a problem with Christianity, they have to have a problem with Jesus first. And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Cause most people most people find Jesus very attractive.
Yeah. Even if they're not Christian, they'll just be like, this,
when it says something that like someone can disagree with your faith, but they can't reject you if they actually like you. Right.
Yeah.
They actually think you're a good person. And so the biggest point is that's an open doorway. That's an open avenue for a relationship with someone, is if somebody actually likes you, right? Because people like Jesus. Yeah. Believers, non-believers.
Yeah, up until they wanted to kill him.
up until it starts to change your life, then it starts to rattle the cage a little bit.
Yeah.
But ultimately, right, we're called to win people, influence people.
People need to know that we care before they know what we know.
There's a big deficit in culture in the way of no one's listening. Oh. Right?
Yeah.
I think so. In the way that like it goes both sides, right? Like the Christians don't listen to the secularists. They don't, there's like a big disconnect. Like I think what creates a lot of value is when you start to listen to people.
Yeah. And I think that comes rooted from love. Like a good practice to do, like practically, like before sharing the gospel would be to just check your heart and be like, Lord, let me know, like, can you give me love for this person? Like, I want to care for this person. Like when you said, how do you bring value to people? Like obviously the greatest value that we could be a part of bringing to people is introducing them to the gospel and introducing them to God.
Yeah.
That's the most valuable thing they're ever going to possess in their life. But on top of that, like, we bring value to people by like what you just said, like they think we're a good person. They actually like us for us. And then eventually, like, I've had friends who were like pulled me aside and they're like, Alex, like, I never thought that like the Christian lifestyle could actually like not be boring. Like, thank you for showing me this. I wasn't like intentionally mentoring them, like I'm just hanging out, and like the way that we treat people, like without us even knowing it, and both negatively and positively affects them. Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing I want to get to is how do we lead a conversation? So I'm going to just throw a little exercise out there. My name is James.
Okay, James.
And I just don't believe in God.
Yeah.
But I respect you.
Okay.
You're a cool guy.
Thanks, man.
But like what you believe is kind of weird, bro.
Yeah. I
mean, I grew up in church. Like my parents forced me to go to church, but like, yeah, not for me.
Yeah.
I just kind of did it to make my parents happy. But like, I live a good life.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Unscripted.
Bro,
I like it.
Why are you laughing at me?
No. Okay. Back in character. All right, James, man. Well, it's good to meet you. I'm glad that you have that, you have that respect and that you're honest about that. That takes a lot of courage. I just want to know,
bro.
like, why do you reject Christianity I know it's a little weird from the side, but like, is there like a reason there, or is it kind of cumulative?
Well, I mean, bro, it's just like there's not really a reason to. I mean, Christians are bad people, man. Like, I've never met a good one.
Oh,
I mean, you're a cool guy.
I was gonna say
like,
that's funny.
But it's like, bro, no one's ever talked to me about anything. Like, it just.
Yeah. I mean, I've met a lot of good atheists. Some atheists better than the Christians that I know. Like, you're a cool guy.
It's because they don't have religion, bro.
But I would never judge a worldview based on its abuse. Think about it this way. If I'm in high school and my algebra teacher comes inside the class and he tells me that 2 + 2 is 5, he's wrong. We're like both gonna sit there and be like, this is funny. Like, he's wrong. But that doesn't mean that math is wrong. That means that this person misrepresented math in my class. And so I would urge you to, like, don't let people who represent something ruin it for you. That would be like me, meeting Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin, and being like, oh, this is what represents atheism. Atheism is evil. That would be wrong, right? You'd say, like, that's not how you do it, and I would be wrong if I did that, right? If I thought that you were, the same as the rest of the atheists, or I thought this is what atheism is. Mm-hmm. And so I think we gotta like figure out what the ideology itself represents, and then we can draw our judgment, which is fine. It's fine. I mean, if you want to go on this journey with me, let's do it. Like, we can go step by step for as long as you need. We can go through everything you don't like about Christianity, and then I can ask you some questions. And
see, that was really good, right?
Yeah,
that was good. That was totally off script. So I
that was off script.
Yeah. So that kind of came out of nowhere.
I like it.
You came out swinging. That was good. You didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh man, I hope this goes well, because I'm not trying to record this a second time.
No,
right?
that was fine.
You did good. I think that was really, see, the thing that Alex did was he asked questions, and what he did was he actually gave me power in the situation and said, like, hey, why don't you ask me what you disagree with, and we can walk through it, and like you can ask the questions, and I'll have an open book and account for everything that you say. Yeah. And then maybe I can ask you some questions. And I mean, what I thought you did, you made a very neutral ground. You didn't like supersede yourself, put yourself above somebody.
Yeah.
So I feel like James would have
appreciated
that. I mean, obviously there's some bias in the fact that like I asked the question, because so I was definitely trying to be as obviously not trying to put anybody in a box and define somebody by that impression. So but as far as like leading conversations, right? Mm-hmm. How do we want to lead
Yeah.
them in a healthy way, right? Like, how do we not be toxic, and what are some things we can do when talking? Because this applies to not only just like sharing the gospel or
Yeah.
sharing our beliefs, but this is just normal life, is having conversations with people. You can't escape it.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, asking the right questions matters. Like, oftentimes you lead a conversation by being the one who asks the questions. You're not always going to get the opportunity to do that. But asking questions actually does a few things. One, it actually helps you to understand the person you're talking to. Two, it helps the person that you're talking to think through what it is they believe. Because oftentimes, people haven't actually thought through their objections to Christianity or to whatever. Like they haven't thought through it to the point where they've never had to defend it because they've never been on the defense. They've only been on the attack. And so asking the question, like, I don't like Christianity. I'm curious, like, is there something specifically about that? And all of a sudden the person has to pinpoint something or say, I don't know, you know? So it gives you information about the person, lets you know more about where they're coming from. Two, it opens them up to have to think through things. And then three, and finally, asking the question actually helps steer the conversation and helps the person feel like they're heard while you're steering the conversation. And these aren't like sneaky tricks. Like this is just something to help guide us in these conversations where we can actually be fruitful and productive.
Yeah, we have to get to a place where we're never trying to trick somebody.
Yeah.
Or fool somebody or gotcha.
Yeah.
If the goal is a gotcha, then we're going to miss the point. We're going to miss a really good opportunity to have an impact on someone's life.
Yeah.
We've really got to believe in like the power of relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, like for Jesus, he walked with his disciples for 3 years, right? So there was a big emphasis on relationship, and he hadn't died on the cross for their sins yet, right? And so, and they weren't perfect people.
Yeah.
They did great works. I love them. And so we don't want to like miss the point, like that we have a really good opportunity to ask questions and have a relationship. And I was having a conversation with somebody maybe like a week ago. I was selling something, some old gear, and someone talked to me, and they were Muslim. And if they ever listen to this, I just want to honor them, like really cool guy. And we were talking for a little bit, and obviously, like me being a Christian, like it's gonna come out. Like there's no way of avoiding it. Like talk to me long enough, you'll find out about it, right? I can only be like so cordial for so long. And basically he was like, after like 30 minutes of talking, he's like, so what's the deal? And I'm like, what do you mean? What's the deal? He's like, you're talking to me. I'm walking around. And this was in the parking lot of the church. And I didn't tell him I was a Christian. I didn't tell him anything. He's like, what's the deal? I see what you guys got going on here. I know what you might be trying to do. I just want to let you know, don't do it. I'm a Muslim. Don't try to convert me. Yeah. And we had a conversation, and I didn't want to push anything on him because I think it's important that we understand where someone comes from. Like, for example, he's Muslim. And so he's very aggressive. He's not aggressive towards Jesus. He's just aggressive towards religion because he's had a tendency, or there's been a trend that Christians have come into his life and tried to convert him. It's very obvious by what he said, right? Like, don't try to convert me. And I was like, well, yeah, I would never try to just convert you. That seems, honestly, for me, that felt weird. And we kept talking, and he was just like, well, if we were to be friends, right? Because ultimately my goal is to create value for people, love people, and want them to be my friend, right? Because that's the goal, is for people to be my friend, do life with them. And I don't care if they believe or they don't believe because I know my source. And so it came to the point in the conversation where he's like, cool, I'll be your friend. We can chill. We can hang out. Just don't convert me. But if for whatever reason we're hanging out and eventually I'm just like, I like this guy, I like what he believes, I might change, then it's okay. But don't ever try to convert me. But if I change because of our relationship, sweet. And he's Muslim. He's going to school to be a doctor, really smart guy. And I thought that was a very healthy conversation because I wasn't trying to force any concepts, ideas on him, but like naturally the conversation led to that. And it's important that in those moments, like people don't want to be, like ultimately, if I came to you and I was trying to convert you to Hinduism, you're like, it's like kind of uncomfortable. If like my motivation is to convert. It sends a weird like vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know exactly what that feels like because I used to have Mormons over every week. And I would they would keep coming back because I'd keep inviting them and schedule appointments with them and Jehovah's Witnesses and all of that. So I know exactly what the other side of that feels like. Huh?
When was this?
Oh, it was maybe about a year ago. It went, or maybe even a little more. It went on for a while. It went really well. But yeah, so I know what that feels like because they're there to convert us. And the cool thing about like knowing that off the bat kind of took the elephant out of the room. So basically, I'll just kind of share how that went. Like they show up and they're talking and they're telling me about their faith and all of that. And I hear them out, and a lot of times we're still on the doorstep when I say this. But like oftentimes I'll just say, guys, I respect what you're doing. I think that if you actually believe what you believe, you should care that other people know. And so honestly, guys, I have respect for the fact that you are doing this. I think you're wrong, and I'm a Protestant. I don't believe what you believe, but man, I think we should both be after the truth. And if you are willing, I would love to invite you guys in, and next week and the week after that. Bring me things, bring me your literature, bring me your videos. I want to know what you believe deeper. I want to understand what you believe. And then maybe we can talk about what I believe too. And we can combine ideas and, connect on that level and just kind of see, where we land here and there. And what are they going to say? No?
Oh, for sure. Most people, when you give them an opportunity like that, they're going to take it.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, this guy's actually interested. And here's the thing, it's not a game. I am interested. You know what? If I'm wrong about Christianity, I want to know. It's going to be painful, but I want to know. I don't think I'm wrong because of my past and what I've been through in terms of not always being a Christian.
There's a dog here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. In this case, it's a dog in the room.
It's a dog in the room.
So I think that's actually a really good point to leave it off at. So this is going to be a multi-series.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to wrap it up on that part where just leave the relationship open-ended and leave an opportunity for that relation to continue.
Be honest about it.
Yeah. Beyond just a brief moment, we have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's the really cool part. Ask the right
questions.
And so if people have questions, if people have thoughts, then they can simply just DM me on the Instagram and we can bring this up in the next episode or the episode after that, depending on where we're at. And we can kind of go from there.
Okay.
So we're actually going to record another one right after this and maybe go into some other points. But thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for coming on, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
I think that's a really good place. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on? Because that was...
we pretty much wrapped a lot of it up. Besides asking the right questions, actually, one more thing, if I could. I don't know if I have 30 seconds. There's also this idea that we have to be the ones that defend our position all the time. Christians forget that they're actually the big dog in the yard, and we don't have to be the ones that are the little dogs barking. If someone makes an assertion, if someone says, "I think Christianity is stupid," whoever makes the assertion generally is supposed to defend that assertion. So when you ask your right questions, ask them why they think that. Yeah. That's all.
Awesome, bro. Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.